بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله السلام الله عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته everyone. I pray that you're well. So today I went to Costco, and I went to Costco at a time where I think no one should go to Costco, and that's Thanksgiving week in the United States of America. And everyone is rushing to I was there actually early. I was there at I think I showed up there. I thought they opened at 10, but it seems like they opened earlier than 10. So I got there at 9:45. I was really happy, and I said, "Okay, I'm gonna beat the rush and get a few of the items that we need," because the Costco that I live next to has a whole halal section. They have all these halal meats and halal chicken, so it's wonderful. So I get into Costco, and it is absolutely packed. And so, I have a habit whenever I go to any grocery store, when I'm checking out, I always strike up a conversation with the clerks. They work a very difficult job, especially during the holiday seasons. You can imagine everyone is stressed, everyone is tense, and these poor men and women are there trying to just keep a smile on their faces and ring everyone out. And I've come to realize over these so many years that I've had these conversations with the clerks that wallahi, I've learned so much wisdom from them. And there's one particular clerk at the Costco that I go to. Her name is Eugene. And Sajad, this lady is amazing. May Allah open her heart to Islam, Ya Rabbi Ya Kareem. So for the past couple of years, Eugene has been dropping wisdom on me, like left and right in that like 3-minute interaction. Because you can't talk too long at Costco because you look behind you and everyone is like frustrated, like, why is this guy talking so long to the tellers? But what are you gonna do? And so I was talking to her today. I said, Eugene, you guys are so busy. I hope you're not too stressed out. I hope you're okay. I see these big lines. It's already just 10 in the morning. I just, take care of yourself and hopefully everyone treats you nice. And, Eugene said something to me. She said, I'm nice whether people are nice to me or not. I'm nice and I don't expect anything in return. I'm nice because I was taught to be nice. And I said, Subhanallah. Like, Eugene, what a beautiful attitude to have. And what a beautiful perspective to be. That as a human being, regardless of what other human beings are doing around you, you're going to bring a sense of positivity in the world, even if you're not necessarily met with that same level of positivity back. And by Allah's rahmah, you will be. Allah is too generous that He wouldn't allow someone who tries to bring mercy into the world to be dealt with just harmful interactions. He's going to repay you with even more beautiful mercy, whether it's in this world or the next. And I said, that's a really beautiful character trait that Eugene has. And she must have learned it, as she said, from her parents. Her parents must have instilled that into her. Eugene, you go and you be kind and you be generous no matter what anyone is saying or doing around you. Don't lose your character. Don't lose your morality. Don't lose who you are because people don't know who they are. And ultimately, that's the teachings of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallama. Our messenger alayhi salatu wasalam, there's a beautiful hadith I want to share. Sajjad, can we bring it on screen? Where the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallama, he describes why Allah sent him. You can think about this momentous reason that Allah sends the greatest of all creation, not just the greatest of mankind. The Prophet ﷺ is the greatest of all creation. He's greater than the malaika. And so he sends him into the worlds. And why does he send them into the world? Well, the Prophet ﷺ tells us himself in this hadith when he says, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ صَالِحَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I was sent to perfect moral character, good character. The primary reason that our Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallama was sent as a mercy to all the universes was to transform you and I and transform everything around him from one state of being to a more beautiful state of being. He was sent to teach the world beauty. He was sent to beautify all of existence. And how does that beauty manifest itself? He sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallama taught us that it manifests itself through moral character, how we interact with Allah, our relationship with our Lord, number one. Do we have like this arrogance, I'm owed something by you, ya Allah? Or are we like humble? So, what's our morality? What's our character with Allah? Do we stick out our chests and say, Allah, why didn't you give me? Why did you give him? Why did you give her? Or do we, I'm a humble servant of you, ya Allah. I'm in need of you, ya Allah. What's my character with Allah? Do I even have a character with Allah? Do I even have a relationship with the divine, subhanahu wa ta'ala, the source of all good? He's sent to beautify our character in terms of how we interact with the divine, the Lord of the worlds. And he was sent, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallama, to beautify how we interact with each other. How I interact with Sajjad. How Sajjad interacts with me. How I interact with the clerk. How I interact with my coworkers. How I interact with my boss. How I interact with my wife. How wise we interact with our husbands, with our kids, and the list goes on and on, that exchange of beautiful moral character. And especially to us out here as parents, our children learn by watching us. They learn by seeing how we act, not necessarily what we say. You know, Sajjad, kids are onto us, you know? All the parents out there. You can tell your kid to be one way, but if you and I are not that way, it will go nowhere. Nowhere. Falling on deaf ears because it's an empty tongue. It's an empty heart that's saying it. Like if I want my son to do something, do you know what I do? I do it myself. That's the first rule. I can't call someone to something that I myself am not partaking in. So if I want to see a change in my kids, I say, okay, you know what? I have to change myself. I have to be that thing. Because they know if there's something phony going on in the house. And look what the Messenger of God, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, he says in this beautiful, beautiful hadith I want to share with everyone. He says, ما نحل والد ولدا من نحل أفضل من أدب حسن. Sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi. Look, Sidna Nabi, he covered everything for us. Ya Sayyidi, Ya Rasulullah. Wallahi, innaka la Nabi. Wallahi, he's the greatest gift to all of existence. Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi. He says that there is no gift that a father gives his son or gives his child more virtuous than good manners. That's the greatest gift that we as parents can give our kids. You know, we're obsessed in the West, especially in the West. We're obsessed with the financial inheritance that we give our kids. We're obsessed with what sort of homes we live in. We're obsessed with what sort of cars they're going to drive. We're obsessed with the restaurants that we take them to. We're obsessed with what I call keeping up with the Khans or keeping up with the Ahmeds. You know, if my neighbor, Mr. Khan, bought his son a new car, well, then, you know, now I need to start competing. I need to get my son a new car. Or if my son or someone else's son, you know, got into XYZ college, well, I need to get my kid into that college. And Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallama, the king of the universes, is telling us that the best thing that you can actually give your kids is beautiful moral character. That's the gift that you want to give them. That's what you want them to inherit. Because how many times have we given our kids money and they've just turned into spoiled brats? Sajjad, what happens when you give your son too many gifts? What happens to any of you out there who are listening to this? We've seen it. You buy your son one Pokemon pack. What does he want after that? Does he say, oh, thank you so much for this one Pokemon pack. I am so happy now. I never want to buy Pokemon again. I'm satiated. If your kid's like that, mashallah, you raised a good kid. I'll tell you what most kids are like. The more you give, the more that they want. The more you give, the more that they want. The more dunya, the more material stuff we keep throwing at them, the more material stuff they feel that they're just naturally entitled to. And that creates like a, venom and carnage. That creates like a venom inside them, like ready to go out there and consume the world. And everything is theirs. And Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallama, he's saying, no, teach them beautiful moral character. Teach them humility. Teach them kindness. Teach them to prefer others over themselves. Because that's why I, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallama, was sent to the world. I was sent to perfect moral character. And there's a man that I think we all know from Gaza, who we will all agree is like a rahmah, a mercy to the worlds. Like you see how he interacts with the difficulties that he went through in life, and you see how he interacts with the difficulties that other people have gone through in life. His name is Khalid Nabhan. If we can pull up his Instagram, and before we start it, you all know, Ar-Ruh Ar-Ruh. And I wonder, Khalid Nabhan, maybe someone can check this out there on the internet that's listening. I wonder if he's related somehow to Sheikh Yusuf Nabhani, rahmatullahi alayh. Khalid Nabhan, the Nabhan family. Maybe he's connected to Sheikh Yusuf al-Nabhani, rahmatullahi alayh, the great Qadi, the great lover of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, maybe. And so Khalid here, he goes and he visits the resting place of his father. And so I just want to play this clip, and the initial part is going to be in Arabic, but then you're going to see the English subtitling coming up. If we can play it, Sajjad.
هذا هو قبر أبي. أسأل الله تبارك وتعالى أن يرحمه رحمة واسعة، وأشهد الله أن أبي كان يقوم من الليل ويصلي ما شاء الله له أن يصلي، وادعو لنا جميعا للأبناء والبنات وللذرية.
First of all, I want us to take a look at the son and take a look at the father. Take a look at the father and take a look at his son. That's Khalid Nabhan, Ruh al-Ruh, the one who remembered his grandchildren, returned to Allah as martyrs, and he held those children, and he just said about his granddaughter, she was a Ruh al-Ruh, soul of my soul. And he went around, and he still goes around taking care of all these Ghazan children that have been maimed in Gaza because of this onslaught. He's going around and he's spreading Muhammadan sallallahu alayhi wasallam mercy everywhere he goes. And so you have to wonder, like, who is this man? I always wondered, like, what made him so special? And then I just came across this video. Look at his father. You tell me that his father doesn't have an angelic presence to him? Look at the beauty of Iman in his father, rahmatullahi alayhi's face, in that photo there. And then look what he says. He comes here to visit his dad. And he talks about the impact that his father had upon him. What's the first thing that he says? My dad used to give me candy. My dad used to just buy me a bunch of gifts. What does he remember about his dad? Is that his dad used to get up for Qiyamul Layl, for the night prayer. And what would his dad do every night? He would make dua for the Muslim community. That's the impact that walking the walk has on our kids. Khalid, may Allah preserve him, his dad, his father, rahmatullahi alayh, turning in that beautiful moral character relationship with Allah Azza wa Jal every day resulted in the beauty of a son like Khalid. That's what we should want. That's why we need to bring the spiritual reality of that moral character with Allah into our homes. Our kids will act based on what they see you and I doing. If we're just watching NFL all day long, and we're watching the NHL, and then it's about soccer, and then it's about baseball, and then it's about the UFC, and then it's about the ABC, then that's what our kids are going to grow up knowing. And their kids are going to grow up being replicas of that which you and I stuffed them with. It's Thanksgiving. You stuff a turkey, and what you stuff your turkey with, you're going to consume. And what we stuff these little turkeys with our children with is what they're going to end up being like. And Khalid here, his dad, he stuffed him. But he stuffed him with the love of Allah and His Messenger, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallama. Not just by telling him, but by actually being and doing. And so you and I, and I'm talking to myself, we need to be and do. We need to do what Khalid's father, rahmatullahi alayhi, was doing in his home. We need to have an environment in which our kids see us with our hands raised to Allah Azza wa Jal, crying, making dua, praying, actively reading Quran. Like if we finish our prayer and then we all rush to get up, well, what do we expect our kids are going to do when they grow up? And what are they going to teach their children when they grow up? They're going to teach them the acts that you and I concentrate on. But if they see you and I in dua, in salah, tears coming down, they're going to remember those things. And that's going to have a major impact on the trajectory of our children. I'll tell you, even about my father, rahmatullahi alayhi, I remember one time I came down to the kitchen in the middle of the night and we had a basement and I heard like a voice, the basement reciting Quran. It was like 2, 3 in the morning. And it was my father, rahmatullahi alayhi, hiding in the dark in the basement. He just forgot to close the door, praying to Allah Azza wa Jal. And that had such an impact on me. Like, what's dad doing? And my father, rahmatullahi alayhi, was constantly in dua, like, especially all throughout his life. But the last few years of his life, especially, was constantly in dua. And he used to chastise me, Sajjad. I remember sometimes I'd finish my salah and I'd finish my dua. And then he looked at me, he says, "You call that dua to Allah?" I said, "Ma'tasm, that's your dua to Allah?" He says, "My son, you're calling Allah. You're calling Allah. Take your time with Allah." And my father left that imprint on me. And he was a generous man. My father, this is even when I was in college. And I would, I used to go into my parents' bathroom to shower. I don't know. I just liked, I like to go there to shower. And I would pass through and my dad would be sleeping. And he was a light sleeper and he'd hear me. And he's like, "Ma'tasim, na'am, Baba. Where are you going?" I'm like, "Oh, Baba, I'm going to school." He goes, "Okay, okay." He's half asleep. He's like, "Open the closet. My pair of pants are hung there. Put your hand in my pocket and take whatever money you need. Take whatever you need." I'm like, "Baba, I'm okay. I don't need anything." "Ya ibni." He would get up and say, "Ya ibni, go take." He would do this every single day. And so my dad was teaching me generosity. My dad was teaching me to give. And those are the characteristics that we want to teach our children because we want them to beautify the world with those characteristics. Khalid's father, look at him. He's a man of Allah. And so we want to be men and women of Allah. And so if we're men and women of Allah in our homes, then our children at least are going to be exposed to that beautiful, beautiful reality. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspire our hearts to have beautiful moral character with Him subhanahu and with all of creation.